All right, you all. Welcome to another episode of A Cup and Conversation. I am your hostess with the mostest. Do people say that anymore? That's so corny. But my name is Sakina Abdul Jalil, and I am here with none other than Miss Angel Burt. And I have known this lady for years. Years. I was literally trying to think how we first met, and I honestly don't know. But I am so excited to have you all get the chance to meet her. Those of you that don't know her, you're going to hear about her background. Those of you that do know her already know I got a boss on here, okay? And so I'll tell you guys why I wanted Angel to be on here. As you know, this couple conversation is just casual conversations, but at the same time, they're empowering, they're inspiring, they're helping people to get the chance to know real people that are doing big things. And they're just telling you what they're going through, the ups and downs of it all, the challenges. Because a lot of times when it comes to social media, a lot of times we only see the after effect. We only see the success when it's here, but we don't get to really hear the nitty gritty of what it takes to, in Angel's case, put community organizations together to get out there in the community and do the work and walk the walk and talk the talk. She comes from the fashion and beauty industry. Like you look at her, she's gorgeous. And I think that's how we first met, but I don't know exactly how. And I'm like, how did we first meet? But most importantly, I want you all to tune in. I want you to focus on what this beautiful woman has to share with us today, because we're just going to get in there. We're going to talk about your background, how you do so many amazing things, because you are literally involved in everything. You are everywhere. And I am so proud and so honored that you actually made the time to get on here and share with us about you, who you are. So welcome, welcome, welcome. And let's
Oh, thank you
first,
so much.
you
Thank
are
you
so
so much.
welcome.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to know, what are you drinking? What are you
Yeah,
drinking?
thank you, thank you, thank you. I've got my beautiful peace cup here, and
Nice.
I've got nettle tea in here. It's
Ooh,
some rosebud in there, and just something relaxing and calming.
same here.
Cheers.
Chamomile tea, and then I put a cinnamon stick in it, and then cardamom. Cardamom pods.
I love cardamom.
I'm addicted to cardamom.
Yeah, that aroma is just so wonderful.
Right?
I think
Right?
it's the cinnamon family, is it not?
I think
What family
so.
is it? Yeah,
I
yeah.
think it
So I
is.
love cinnamon too. So
Me too. I went to Pink Olive the other day and got a rose cardamom latte. It gave me life. It just,
where was this at?
this is at Pink Olive downtown across from the Purse Museum.
Yes,
Right on
I
point.
will be going there to get
Right
that.
on point.
Shameless plug.
Right, exactly.
They're
Ta-da.
lucky.
They are, but they're so
Shameless
good.
convincing plug.
Yeah, it is the bomb. You will not be disappointed, right? It sounds like I really am plugging it, but it is so good. But let's kind of dive into it because I actually made some little notes here because I'm like, there's so much to Angel. I don't want to miss anything. And like I said, I don't remember where we met, but I remember what I thought when I first saw you. Like literally, I thought, who is this gorgeous woman? Because I know you have been told that probably from the moment you were brought into this world. But one of the things that I noticed about you first, well, I should say second, because your beauty was just amazing, but your personality. Your personality, like you truly are a beautiful person. Like you are so helpful and so concerned about other people and just making everyone feel welcome in any environment that you're in. Like any environment. I remember coming to a store that you were in, and I remember being in events that you were in, and then not even community events, just different, maybe networking events, and then community events. You are always making sure that everyone is taken care of. So I want to know, where does that come from? Where does that love for people and really being a people person and really wanting to take care of people, where does that come from for you?
And thank you. That is such a wonderful question, Shakia. And the first thing that came
Wait,
to my
wait,
mind,
wait, wait, wait. Hold on. I can't let you go by and call me Shakia. Did y'all
what
hear
did
her
I
call me
say? What did I
Shakia?
say?
She said Shakia. She meant to say Sakina, but she said
What's
Shakia.
Sakina? What
But
did I
here's
say?
the
What did
funny
I
thing.
say?
Here's
I
the
am
funny
so
thing.
sorry,
Mm-mm, no,
Sakina.
no,
I'm
no.
sorry.
No, no, no. Don't
You,
apologize
you
because
know why?
I've been knowing her. I'm gonna tell him, I've been knowing her for years. Angel has always called me something else other than my name. This is so real. She would do the same thing because the premise of these conversations is if you're in my
Oh,
own home.
Lord.
She would do the same thing in my own house, sitting next to me on a sofa. So it is all good. But I
It must,
promise you,
Sakina. It must have been Sakia in another life. I'm convinced
yeah,
because that's where I was
exactly.
going with that. Let me tell you, really and truly, I believe that we are kindred spirits. I know why you don't remember where we met because I think that we immediately connected. We have a sisterhood, no matter where we are, what we do, what journey we're on. Whenever we come together, there's a lot of love between us. And so
So
I think
true.
in that other life, that was your name, perhaps. But in this life, you are
Right.
Kina. And I love you dearly. And I really appreciate being here on the show. With you today as a woman and so many things that we go through. I was thinking about being on the show and I was like, well, you have to start kind of thinking about yourself, right? And
Yeah.
I remember early on as a little girl, just always wanting, to be a part of making people happy.
Mm.
I was actually bullied as a little girl, and I really didn't understand like what that really was. I mean, back then they didn't call it bullying, right?
Right.
And
Same
it was
thing.
it was because you got long hair and fair skin and that sort of
You
thing.
think you cute,
You think you cute,
your
you
light
know. And
skin. Yeah.
I literally, as a little girl, it was almost like a cartoon. I'll be looking around like, I love everybody. Like, what's really going on here?
Right.
So bullying is not fun. I will tell you that.
Mm-mm.
It's
Not at
very
all.
disheartening when you have a heart of gold. And as a child, I felt like, I loved everybody and I wanted everybody to be friends and I wanted friends. And I had that spirit about me, but my spirit was a little bit broken because it caused a lot of fear in me.
Mhm.
Because being bullied, people wanting to fight you, that's fear. And
Yeah.
and as a child, you internalize that, right?
Hmm.
And so for so many years, I always want people just to see me, and just to love me, not the outer me, but the inner me. So
Yeah.
that's probably some of the things that you reflect and kind of see in me as you were talking.
Hmm.
I was just like, well, that's probably what happened because, again, I just always had just an organic love for people and wanting people just to see me for who I am and not aesthetically, so to speak.
Yeah. I totally understand that. I totally understand that. And you're right. It's just like, that's why I can't remember because we just connected. We just instantly connected. And I love that. And let me ask you this too.
Mhm.
No, obviously, you're beautiful. You know that already.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
you are so welcome. And no, let me go back a little bit. Were you born and raised here in Arkansas?
Yes, I was born and raised here in Little Rock, Arkansas, as a little girl again. And as a teenager, I was remembering, thinking about, where did I kind of get my leadership kind of thought process. And
Mhm.
believe it or not, I was thinking back and I was like, I think I ran for vice president of my student body in junior high school. So I'm going from being bullied, right? Then get to junior high school. And it's like, so what, kind of what happened there? And I think what I decided and I remember one day distinctly, I was being bullied, and I said, no more. I am not going to be bullied. I'm not who they think I am. I don't
Mhm.
care what they think I am. I'm going to
Mhm.
be myself. And then, of all things to get involved, really in the political arena, right?
Right.
And
Front and center.
front and center, I remember, making my and signs. And I didn't have the best handwriting. I do remember that. But I remember I didn't care. I was getting my message across because I care about people. And I thought that I could make a difference for our student body. And so that kind of was like a turning point for me
Mm,
in my life, right? And it was just through just one day, just feeling like I was more than just what people thought of me. There was a lot more on the inside of me. And so, again, that was a turning point, and it was a great turning point for me. I didn't win, but that's okay. It's not what
right,
win or lose, right?
right,
It's playing
right.
the game. It's playing the game. So it definitely turned over a lot of leaves for me. And it wasn't until just recently, I'm talking about 40 years later, that I'm
Hmm.
remembering this, right? And I'm like, wow, wow. So and then the journey began.
And it's so interesting to me how, like you said, you made that decision that bullying was done. That was done. And then you get involved on a political arena in school. And here you are, such a community advocate. Like everyone here knows that if there's something to do, if something's going on in the community, you know about it, you organize it, or you help put it together, or you brought the people together, like you're involved in it. So it's so interesting to see how that's continued on throughout your life. And I would imagine too that when you made that run for student government, that had to do something really amazing to your confidence. Because to go from being bullied to all of a sudden saying, here I am, and this is what I can do for you. Like, that's a huge confidence booster. So I love that. Let me ask you this, with that being said,
Mhm.
how did you take this, or when did you decide that you were going to be involved in the community on such a large scale? Like, how did that come about, and why? And I know it should be obvious to everyone why it's important to get involved with the community, but just because we know that there's things that need to be done in the community doesn't
Yeah.
mean that we're all going to get out there and do something about it, and you're doing something about it. So when did that come about? And let me kind of add this on there too. Did you have role models growing up that you saw people in your family or friend circle that were involved in the community? Like how did all of this come about for you?
Yeah, those are great questions, and absolutely, my motto is, we're all somebody because of someone that has inspired us. I actually started a girls group called Girls Inspired for just that reason, because I believe we are only who we are because of an inspiration, something we
Mhm.
saw, something we did, or something someone else did, right? And then it inspired us. And even as a child, we don't really know that we're being inspired, a teenager
Right.
growing up in general. You don't know that until you get older, right? But you
Right.
want to emulate those things, you respect those things, or those people, I should say. So yes, I've had a plethora of women and some men, but a lot of brilliant, beautiful women that have encouraged me and really been a strong part of who I am today. Some knowing and some not knowing. So what I
Mm,
those who don't know, I pray for them, and I say a prayer of thank you and gratitude, because again, we all have people that we admire, and believe it or not, I don't think any of us are who we are without encouragement or being inspired again by someone. I was thinking about the time, going back real briefly to running for vice president. It was one of the hardest things, believe it or not, that I did, because I had to speak in front of people. And
mm.
I just remember being terrified.
Hmm.
Of course, I had stoked myself up, right? But I remember being so let's not fake the funk here, because I
Right.
was terrified. But I went through my little speech anyway, because when you do things from your heart's mind, it's going to push you through. That spirit will
Every
always push
time.
you through. It will push you through every time. And but again, thinking about where all that actually did come from. Early on, after graduating high school, I went into a banking career. So I was
Hmm.
in the professional world early on and had a lot of strong women around me at that time. I remember my supervisor, her name was Ursula.
Mm.
And she was, such a great supervisor and always encouraging and, made sure that I knew how to do my job, made sure that if I had issues or concerns, she was always there supporting me. Actually, she became my
Wow.
friend for many, 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 many years.
Right.
So that was great. Um, I then ended up getting married at a very early age and moving overseas and
Wow.
lived in Germany
Wow. I didn't
for
know that.
I sure did. I sure did
Wow.
lived in Germany and but let me back up a little bit. Let me talk about my career as a professional model. So that started
Yes.
before I went over to Germany, actually. So again, that is something that definitely builds your self-esteem and your
Hmm.
self-confidence. I got involved in modeling because of my older sister, and she was such a beautiful person, and she dressed so stellar and so
Mm.
sophisticated, and so we started doing modeling events around the city. And she was about 7 years older than me. So I was just this little young little tyke just hanging with her.
Yeah.
Because she was older, I was able to go, right?
Right.
So I ended up doing this really big fashion show at the Robinson Auditorium,
Mm.
and it was themed around myself and this other young man, and it just took us on a journey of meeting and then going on a date and then getting married. I actually wore a wedding gown and all that stuff. It was a great time. So
Yeah.
I yeah, yeah. And so that was really, again, a big self-esteem booster.
Yeah.
Um, because just like speaking in front of someone, to actually model or walk in front of people is probably one of the hardest things that a person can do. And again, receiving those accolades and getting that exposure, it builds your self-confidence. And so
Absolutely.
that was another huge turning point for me. So again, getting married to a military man, moving overseas, I continued becoming a model coach and doing events actually in Europe on the base for different organizations. I would do fashion shows for fundraisers. So
Nice.
they were very, very successful. Those shows ended up being partners with the economy, with the German economy.
Uh-huh.
And newspaper write-ups. It was just really a wonderful experience for me. I had a very good friend called Anya. Her name was Anya Edler. She was
Hmm.
German, and she worked with me to work with designers and boutiques in the German community. And she was bilingual, and so
Hmm.
she actually hosted my show. I had American commentator and a German commentator, and it was just a beautiful time. But what I really want to get to with that message is that what I discovered is that when you're coaching women, you're helping build their self-esteem, and so it was also a way of me continuing to build my own self-esteem and
Mm.
realize really their beauty from the inside out, right? Because people, they're not necessarily professional models. They just have this desire, and so you're teaching women how to carry themselves on the runway, and you're rehearsing and you're encouraging them and you're motivating them, and then they get to wear beautiful makeup and beautiful clothes, and that self-esteem just comes up a little bit higher. And
Mhm.
though it is a beautiful moment in time, it is a moment that they can
Mhm.
cherish for a long, long time and feel that confidence boost, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Them, through really a lifetime. So I found myself doing that more often than not. I actually did pageants, Little Miss pageants. I think I did a Little Miss Black History pageant while I was there. I was also in the pageant
Wow.
circuit as a youngster. So those things that I was involved in, I just transposed those into my life because it was a part of my life and it was a part
Right.
of who I was. And when you talk about motivation and encouragement, there was a teacher that I was at the base called Hessius Oldendorf.
Mm.
I was in Hessius Oldendorf, Germany. And um, there was a teacher, Gwen Allen, and man, she motivated me so much because just think, I'm a young woman away
Right.
from home, away from her mom.
Right. I was going to say away from everything that you know.
Everything that I know. Of course, they were a phone call away, and I used to call, get recipes, or when I get sad, I call, hear my mom's voice. However, they weren't there. So I definitely had an adoptive family, but the Gwen Allen, she
Mm.
was really very inspirational in my life, always encouraged me when I felt down, where I felt like whatever I was doing wasn't right. I would do these events and I would be like, oh, I'm not going to do them. I'm not going to do it. And she'd be like, no, yes, you are. You're great at this. And it's going to be a wonderful show. And again, just always encouraging me. We all need that. And it would always tell me, just how good I was at what I was doing and how important it was of what I was doing. And
Mhm.
so, that encouragement just really kept me going through those years that I was
Right.
overseas. And I do want to say that my mother definitely was an inspiration to me. She was a beautiful woman. She was my first muse, believe it or not.
Hmm.
I admired her, used to watch her put on her makeup in the mirror and be like, oh, I want some of that. Some of
Right.
that one of these days. And as you know, later on, I did become a makeup artist, but
Hmm.
she was definitely my muse in that. So I have been in a part of the fashion and beauty industry really all of my life, but using it as a voice of strength, and using beauty as a way of empowerment.
I love that because I wanted to know, and you actually touched on it there because I was wondering how you have been able to fuse the fashion and beauty world with community advocacy and how you're using that, to uplift women and men too, for that matter. So I was curious to know. So tell me how you made the journey from or with merging fashion and beauty into the community. Like, what were the first steps when you said, I want to be a part of, because you're part of, like there is no Dunbar community without Angel Bird. Like there just
Thank
isn't,
you. I appreciate
like
that. I
literally
appreciate
there
that.
isn't. That's the
I
truth.
appreciate that.
So what steps did you take to go, this is going to be my baby. This is what I'm going to wrap my arms around and spearhead.
Yeah, you know what? I actually feel like my life journey has definitely been guided by God. And when you have that kind of anointment in your life,
Mhm.
is there's really nothing that you can really do about it, from being a professional model coach, being in the corporate world as a corporate trainer for a resort development company, and then
Mhm.
going in to the beauty industry as a professional makeup artist and then working as a cosmetic manager. That was also an opportunity for me to connect with women on an intimate level. Because when you're doing a woman's face, that's very intimate. I'm touching your eyes, I'm touching your
Yeah.
lip, I'm touching your cheeks, right? And so
Hmm.
it was very important for me, or it was very rewarding for me and an honor for me, I felt, for someone to let me touch them, right? So
Yeah.
the conversation gets relaxed and a person tells you about their life and tells
Mhm.
you about, either they're getting married or going to a special event, or they just have problems with their skin. And then here I am, I'm there to help consult them, right? And then
Hmm.
while we're talking and consulting, I'm just beautifying them. And then they get a chance to look at that mirror, and that transformation
Oh,
it's just
the best.
wonderful, right? And
Yeah.
again, it's inspiring for me and it's a good feeling for me. And so you want more of that, right? And so
Mhm.
again, I always believe that beauty is from the inside out. And if the operative word here, Sakina, is people, right? I've always been engaged with people. And again, on an intimate level. And it's always been important for me for people to see themselves the way I see myself, right? Beauty
Hmm.
from the inside out. And
Hmm.
so I think that was a part of why, you know, when I started working with the Dunbar Historic District, initially celebrating the historic distinction of the neighborhood, which, by the way, is the first African American community here in Little Rock, the first Black community. And so, with that honor, there's a lot of history there, and there's a lot of history to be told, and to bring that awareness. And so, through that distinction as far as historic, I mean, that is not something that the community is just giving itself. We are actually a
Right.
certified historic district. So a lot of research has to go into that and learning the background, not only of the homes, but the people that lived in the homes as
Yeah.
well. And so it started off as a celebration with a festival. And so about maybe 4 or 5 years into having these community festival, we decided that, hey, we're more than just a festival, right? There's a lot of rich history here.
Hmm.
We started a 501(c)(3), the
Yes.
Dunbar Historic Neighborhood Association, and that was around 2018. And
Hmm.
I think I started off as maybe um, um, the vice president of the nonprofit. And then after a year or so, I think I moved into the executive director position because we decided that, hey, this is something that we have to do like a full time. This is something that
Right.
takes a
Can't
lot of hands
stick your
on.
toe in it. Right.
Right. And when you're talking about building a neighborhood, right, back into a community, it does take a lot of
Mhm.
work. And it's not just the work of one individual, it is the work of many. I have a lot of support in all that I do. And I've built a lot of great relationships with
Yeah.
working in the community. The school, the Dunbar High School now, the Dunbar Middle School anchors our historic distinction. It anchors our community. I tell everyone that, you have Philander Smith University, you have Arkansas Baptist College, and again, then when Dunbar opened in 1929, Dunbar High School, education was very important to
1929.
us. And it may not be the things that we really think about or realize. And
Mhm.
these institutions are still standing. And so education was very important to us. And so we have to understand that once again. So it's probably more significant
Mhm.
to look at our historical history from this community, from an educational aspect, or looking at it from a business aspect, like Ninth Street, because it was our Black Wall Street here in Little Rock. And so all of those business people that had their businesses, doctors, attorneys like Attorney Scipio Africanus Jones, Dr. John G. Thornton, that started Arkansas Medical, Dental, and Pharmaceutical Association that exists today
Mm.
still. Mifflin Gibbs, that Gibbs Elementary School is named after the first Black judge in the entire country. John
Mm.
E. Bush started Mosaic Templars, that we know as Mosaic Templars
Right.
Cultural Center, but it was an insurance company back in 1884 when it started.
Oh,
Mosaic Templars building was built in 1912. And again, it was an
wow.
insurance company for life, health, and death insurance. John Bush, E. Bush started it. He also lived in the Dunbar Historic District. So
Mm.
again, this was very monumental. Just those simple, iconic names by themselves, and all the things that these individual icons did for our community here locally. They're not only local
Mm.
icons, Shakina, they are not just state icons of Arkansas, but they are world renowned icons. And it's something that we should be aware of, and something that we should be very, very proud of. And I would like to
Absolutely.
say that that journey started for me, not initially. Okay. So let's
Hmm.
back up again. I think I may have been maybe in the ninth grade, and I was working for this summer program in the Dunbar community.
Wow.
at a
Yeah.
school, and I would have to walk to my friend's house to wait till my mom got off work to pick me up. Well,
Right.
she lived in the Dunbar community, and that's the thing. I think she lived on Pulaski, and I was like, oh, I loved the homes were beautiful.
Yeah.
And there was restaurants, there was grocery stores,
Mm,
Arkansas Baptist College was there, Philander Smith College, and I used to think this was a great community. And during that time, a lot of the teachers lived in the community, doctors, and little did I know that I
mm,
would be moving to the Dunbar Historic District and raising my children that all went to Dunbar Middle School. And by the
mm.
way, my mom also went to Dunbar High School, who she's 93 now. So I
Wow.
am a stakeholder in
You
this.
really are. You
I
really
am
are.
really a stakeholder. Um, Actually, at the Dunbar Community Center, I taught a fitness class. My son played Little League football. My daughter
Mm.
ran track. They were cheerleaders. I mean, it was
Wow.
so.
Like
So again,
staples in this community.
yeah, a stakeholder and a love of the community. But let me expound a little bit on that love, on the love that became a treasure to me.
Mm,
The book about Florence Price, famous composer Florence B. Price, who was a child prodigy, started playing the piano at 4, wrote her first composition at 11 years old, graduated valedictorian from the only Black high school in 1902 and was accepted into the New England Conservatory at 14 years old. And so
mm,
Linda Ray Brown, who was the professor of music at the University of Maryland, wrote a book called The Heart of a Woman, and it's about Florence B. Price's life here in Little Rock, Arkansas, in the Dunbar Historic District. But
mm.
it is a history book about Dunbar neighborhood or community. And
Wow.
I found it fascinating. So what happens is when you start finding things that make you feel good and proud of who you are, you
Hmm.
learn more. And the more you turn over the pages or find out about someone, you're encouraged and a sense of pride, even more a sense of dignity, even more of a sense of high regards for people and what they had to go through. But
Hmm.
the triumphs that they went through, they overcame and became icons,
Right.
built legacies. And I think people really forget what that actually means. So it's
Mm.
not recognizing a historic community, right? Uh,
Hmm.
it's about recognizing trailblazers, influencers,
Yeah.
change makers.
Real
Those are
influencers.
renaissance, right? And so those are still the things that we need today, right?
Right.
And I tell people it's like the Sankofa bird. These are truly our ancestors. And when we look back at what they did, it's not to look at things that were negative, right?
Hmm.
Look at all the positive things that they did in spite of the negative things that we experienced and take those beautiful positive things, move them forward in today, modernize them, right? And
Right.
continue on because we are looking for solutions for our community. But I think sometimes things are right in front of us and we don't really take a look at our past as much as at our past history, I should say. And
Mm-hmm.
we have a vibrant, and we have a significant history, not only in the state, in the city of Little Rock, but really in this country.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, let me ask you this too, because I certainly, people that will see this, some of them will start thinking about what are things they can do in their communities. And, maybe some have tried to get some things going in their communities and they received some pushback. So when you started really kind of honing in on this Dunbar historical community, did you receive any kind of pushback from, like what was that like? Was there any kind of pushback? Maybe there wasn't. I would imagine that there might be, but if there was, what was that like for you and how did you push through it? And how do you, if you still receive some pushback, because sometimes people can be kind of slow to deal with some things. So how were you able to overcome that? Uh-oh, did we lose her or did I get frozen?
Oh, I'm not, are you there?
I am. I think one of us, it might be me. It might be my
I think it
internet.
was you.
It
Yeah.
may have been me because I was
I
steady
think you're
talking. I was like,
back.
wait
I
a
think
minute.
you're back.
Gotta love technology. All right,
Oh,
Xfinity, come on
right.
now.
I know. So yeah, so we're dealing with real technology here,
Oh,
right?
absolutely. And that's what I said when I made a video about what I was going to be doing. Like, this is real time. Whatever happens, if you hear a truck or a siren go by, well, guess what? It's going to be in this recording. If it freezes, it's going to be here. We're going to make it real, just as if you were sitting in my home. Now, we wouldn't be freezing, but I just wanted to keep it casual, and whatever happens, we just push right on through it and keep on going.
That's right. I love
Right,
that. Love
right.
that.
So I was asking, I would imagine that you had received some kind of pushback when it comes to this. And I'm wondering what type of pushback have you received and how did you push through that? Because that could help someone else who may be experiencing that in their own communities. They're wanting to do something, they're wanting to, get the community gathered together, but sometimes there's that pushback there.
Yeah, and you know what? I'll be quite honest with you. As you were saying that to me, I was thinking, I was like, well, I don't think I've ever experienced any pushback. And if I've experienced it, I've probably ignored it only
Mm,
because when you go in with the energy of love, when you go in with the energy of not only love, but loving your community, and you can only love your community if you love yourself. And
mm.
so I
Oh,
have,
that's so good.
yes, yes,
That
yes.
was so good.
Thank you. Because it's so true. You know,
Yeah.
um, like I said, all the things that you start learning about your community, it's a reflection of who you are. And you can be proud of that because those people look like you and those experiences are still similar, right? And
Mm-hmm.
identifiable, right? And so I will tell you about a recent event that happened back in um, 2021. Several things, so many things are going through my head right now. Um, in 2021, when we were talking about Florence Price, I'd like to share this story with you that has been really monumental for the community. And it's not a pushback story because I feel like I've always experience more of collaboration, partnerships,
Oh, I love
relationship,
that. Yeah.
because it is about relationship building before you get to partnerships, before you get to collaborations. And when people, I think, feel that you are from a heart space and a passion, then that's a good place that people want to be a part of. So
Mm.
I've had a lot of people most of the time that are right along aside of me, right? And
Oh,
so the special story I want to tell you about is that after reading the book, The Heart of a Woman, about Florence Price, I discovered a story about her. She was born in 1888 and she died in 1954. In 1927, she left Little Rock and she was 40 years old during the Chicago Renaissance, just for a better opportunity for herself. And in the book, it talks about, the Jim Crow laws had gotten a little tough in the South. So she went to Chicago. And while there, she started writing compositions for competitions for composers. And she won this Warner Baker Prize, which is one of the highest prizes a composer could win in 1933.
mm,
And her symphony in E minor was played by a five-star orchestra, which had never happened before. The first African American woman, I like to say, whose
hmm.
symphony was played by the Chicago Symphony, made up of 72 white men, which was really unheard of in 1933.
Right.
So she was honored for that and revered for that. And so many people here in Little Rock were proud of her. And particularly the Philander Smith alumni wrote a letter. This is based on her book, The Heart of a Woman, and asked her to come back and play a concert. So she came back to play the concert in 1934.
Mm.
And she played well, I'm going to have you guess. Do you know where she played that concert at?
I would
Can you guess? Can you guess?
put
Think
me
about
on the spot here. I remember when you put this together in the open field there, we had the big screen. We were
Oh,
watching the Robinson. Yeah, I
yes,
remember that.
yes, yes.
You introduced me to her. I didn't know anything about her story.
Oh,
And when I
yeah.
seen you promote that, I was like, "Oh, I have to see that and listen to this music." That was one of the best events that I'd gone to outside. I thought it was just perfect. But I'm
Primo.
like, where did she play it at?
Oh my goodness. I have to tell you a little story about that here just a minute. It was played about that concert, I should say. It was played at Dunbar High School, right? Think about it. That's pretty much the only place that it could have been played at.
In 1934,
In
absolutely. In Little Rock,
1934
Arkansas.
in
Yeah.
Little Rock, Arkansas, for
Yeah.
both Black and white, because of segregation.
Right.
That was the only place that
Mm.
uh, the concert could have happened, but it was a beautiful place. So, and it was fitting because she wanted to come back to see her students. Because remember, she had left in 1927,
Mm.
and she taught piano lessons, and she wanted to see her students. And then she also wanted to see the Dunbar School. Dunbar opened in 1929, right? So
Mm.
she had an opportunity to see the school yet. So she came to play the concert, and it was really a big to do for the entire city. And one beautiful thing about Florence is that concert, the tickets, I think, were 50 cents and 25 cents. Um, uh, 25 cents for the balcony, and then for the lower mezzanine. I'm not really sure what it's called, but anyway, was
Mhm.
50 cents. And she gave the proceeds from that concert to the school.
Wow.
And I was like, that just speaks to the type of person that she
Yep.
was. And so
Exactly.
that was monumental. And so again, she passed on in 1954.
Hmm.
However, she had this small cottage in Chicago, which a summer home that she would go to,
Hmm.
and no one knew about it until 2008 when the home was sold. So from 1954 to 2008, they find this home, and inside the home were all these compositions that she had written.
Oh my God.
Oh my
A
God.
treasure. A
A
treasure.
treasure.
Oh
Yes,
my
a
gosh.
treasure. And so the UALR, they did not have an archival, musical archival department. So all of those works are at the U of A, and they've been gently released. And as you talked about the concert that Arkansas Symphony put on,
Yeah.
the community concert that they did honoring Florence Price, and they've done many concerts honoring her, but that one in particular partnered with the Dunbar Historic Neighborhood Association. And it was right, when COVID was kind of ending, but still kind of there. So
Right.
outdoors here in the community at 15th and Chester, and then also at the Robinson Auditorium. But that was a magical, magical night. It really, really was, to hear
Mm.
her music played in the community where she grew up, in the community where this child prodigy walked. And I tell people this too. I say, we know a lot of smart people,
Mhm.
we know a lot of bright people, but we do not know a lot of prodigies. Genius. She was a
True.
genius. Matter of fact, um, it was over. It was a little warm. It was in September. I never forget.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, the wind kind of came. up. And then there were sprinkles. And I'm telling you that I am so serious about this. There was a sprinkle that hit my cheek. And I said, that is Florence Price's tear. Because here it
Oh.
is, her music being played in the very community that she was cultivated in. And
Hmm.
I thought that was such a special moment. So,
That's beautiful.
oh, isn't that 22, her symphony, I want to say in C minor, won a Grammy by the Philadelphia Orchestra. And it went up against Beethoven and
Mm,
Mozart. So she is, again, very significant. I remember driving down the street one day and I was listening to NPR. And I had been listening to her music because she intertwined Negro spirituals in her music. I
hmm.
never like necessarily, I love all music.
Of
But
course.
I just fell in love with her music because it has this soul to it. I just can't explain it. And again, she intertwined Negro spirituals within her music, and you can hear the riffs and how it changes in the music. And I was driving down the street and I was listening to NPR, and I said, is that Florence Price's music?
I love that.
Know Florence Price's music. I know
Wow.
classical music. So
Wow.
again, I mean that those are the things that uplift us.
Yeah.
Those are the things that keep us pushing through and wanting other people to discover and find out about all these wonderful, iconic people. Because I think that sometimes the history that we don't know, it hinders us because we don't, where do you get pride from? A sense of
Right.
pride.
Yeah.
Where do you get encouragement from or
Mm,
a sense of love of self from if
mm,
you don't get it from knowing, history that's valued, right? And
mm.
so we have a lot of valuable history in the Dunbar Historic District and neighborhood.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. It's incredible. And I would love to know too, because you give back to so many people. Like you're a radio personality, you're a community advocate, you're certainly, fashion and beauty, that's you. So you're always giving, giving, giving. What do you do,
Oh,
Miss
yeah.
Angel, to take care of just Angel?
Oh,
What do
yeah.
you when you're just nobody but you? What do you do?
Yeah, that's a really good question as well. When I can get away and travel,
Mm,
I love doing that.
hmm.
Last year, I was able to take an overseas trip to Africa, and that was a wonderful, wonderful, and enlightening experience. I
Mm,
love the ocean. I love the beach. It's very tranquil to me. Meditation is a huge part of my life. Uh,
mhm,
because it just takes you away. It helps you. I tell people that, prayer and meditation are very important. I say that prayer is when we're talking to God, and meditation is when we are listening to God. And
mm.
so I do take those times to listen, and
Yeah,
so it helps strengthen me, right?
yeah, yeah.
And again, though, when you are anointed with something, uh, you don't know where it comes from and you don't know why you're
Right.
doing it. You're just doing it, so to
You
speak.
just being
But
obedient.
but you're right. We all need to decompress,
Yeah.
right? We
Mm,
all need an outlet, right? And it's important for our mental health. It's important for our mind, our body, and our spirit, because when those things are discombobulated or out of alignment, like you said, what do you do? So there are a lot of things that I do. Uh, I take time for myself. Sometimes I do forget that, and I let
mhm,
things just kind of get in the way of that by doing so much for others. Community building is not an easy thing to do,
mm,
uh,
mm.
but the fruit of the labor is what's sweet. You know,
Mm,
when you're able to bring people together, when you're able to see a smile on someone's face, or someone say, "Well, I didn't know that history," and but they're saying it with a smile, like, "I'm glad you told me. I feel a little bit better about myself." I mean,
hmm.
it really does make it all worthwhile. And again, I have a huge support system around me. I have great, great friends.
Hmm.
Nothing like someone lending an ear to hear your voice sometimes,
Right.
because you're always hearing so many other voices, right? But I get a natural high, believe it or not, from just helping other people. And again, I think it started when I was young, when I felt like people really didn't hear my voice. And
Hmm.
when I found my voice, by doing those things that I love to do, I have continued to be that entity uh, that God's grace has given me. And I tell people all the time, I do not live, I don't let life live me. I
Mm.
live my life. And
Girl,
so, yeah, for sure.
you dropping some gems. I'm gonna have to go back and like write that down. Like, wait, she said, and then wait a minute, let me stop. And then she said, what?
Yes, yes, yes,
I
yes.
love it.
Yes, it's all about finding that what that
Oh, I'm telling you,
peace.
peace, peace, peace.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Oh,
you
I
gotta
love
find
it.
that.
I
Mm-hmm.
love that. Now, how have you been able to, because you've been involved in the community, as we know, for a number of years, how
Yes,
were you able to, and how are you able to balance
yes,
family, you know, community,
yes.
life, all of that? How are you able to do that? Because you're putting on events that require a lot of time, but you still have family too and family
Mm-hmm,
obligations.
mm-hmm.
So how you been able to balance all of that over the years?
Yeah, that's a real good question. Bring them along with me and put them to work.
Hey, hey, I love it. This is what you're gonna do. This is what I need you to do over here. You got this part.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
I
exactly.
love
Right.
that. I
The
love that. That's
children,
smart.
the
Yeah.
sisters, the brothers, just everybody, right?
Listen, I
Friends.
was I was telling someone not too long ago that my oldest son had to learn, and he's grown now, but he had to learn how to drive at 12. We were living in a really tiny rural area in Arkansas, and I had a fragrance business. And my husband worked overnight, so when he would get off work in the mornings, he was exhausted. So I would have to fulfill gift baskets and packages and orders and drive them from town to town because down near each town is like 5 or 6 minutes away from each other. It's just like back to back to back. And I would get so many orders sometime that I couldn't fill them all in a reasonable time because I also had 5 children
Mhm,
that I
mhm,
had to
mhm.
take care of while he was sleeping because he had worked the night before. So I was like, we got to teach this boy how to drive because I had a minivan and I was like, he can be up there driving, I can be in the back finishing up this stuff. And so each child, for the most part, had a role in that. This one, would pack these oils. This one would pack this gift basket. This one would, go down the list. And it's like, yeah, we put him to work.
Yes,
And that
little
child,
entrepreneurs, little entrepreneurs.
yes, that
I
child
love
learned how
that.
to
I
drive
love
at
that.
12 on those little back road highways. They are dirt roads, really, not highways. But yeah, you made me think of that when you said you put them to work.
Oh yeah, put them to work. And just, whatever I would do, they would be doing it with me. And then you know, as they, got older, and now that they're an adults, I'm looking at them and they're doing things and I'm like, huh, they're doing some community things. Um, I think I have one daughter that's in property management, dealing with a lot of people, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, oh, they
They were
look a
paying
little
attention.
familiar. They look a little. I got one daughter that's working with a nonprofit, and it's just like, oh, okay, right? You just never know. But yeah, you had them right along with me, working right alongside of me, whether they wanted to or not. Sometimes, right?
Right,
It's
right.
like, come on, be a part of this. you know, put some chairs up, put some tables up,
Right. Do
sign
something.
some people in, serve some food, yeah,
Right.
those sorts of things, right? And
I love
definitely,
that.
because life is definitely about experiences, right? And
Mm-hmm.
experiences that we expose our children to, ourselves to, it just makes us better people. Because that exposure is normally related to engaging with other people, right? Because I tell people that, you know, you're really nobody without somebody. And I used to always
True.
say, it's you, right? Because we're all interconnected, right? And we all really need each other. And it is about finding kindred spirits like
Mm-hmm.
yourself and people that align with your vision, right?
Yeah.
And it's okay if somebody doesn't have your vision, you know?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's perfectly fine. I think that's what you were talking about as far as, do you find yourself having any resistance or obstacles, right?
Mm-hmm.
But and you always do, but you learn early on, I've learned that, you don't really harbor in that. You
Right.
just forward and keep going. Um, but I was telling you that story about Florence Price because um, in 2022,
Mm-hmm.
um, I did write a proposal to have the auditorium at Dunbar Middle School now, to name the auditorium after Florence Price. And so on March, I think it was maybe March 8th, I did a proposal to the Little Rock School District to have the auditorium named after her.
Mm-hmm.
And on March 18th, 2022, they voted unanimously to name the auditorium after her and also historically rehabilitate, not renovate. Because when you rehabilitate, you bring it back to its natural aesthetics.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and
Oh,
had
that's
to
awesome.
interview architects to do, I was a part of the committee that interviewed the architects to rehabilitate it, and WER Architects won that bid, which are the same architects that have constantly rehabilitated and still today rehabilitating Little Rock Central High School.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh, that's
um,
awesome.
yes, so that's
Congratulations. That's awesome,
you very
girl.
much. Thank you very much. So there was a roof that had to be put in. So we're going through phases right now.
Right,
So
right.
roof will be put in. That was one of the phases. And this past summer, new windows were put in. They are absolutely
Okay.
gorgeous. Yeah.
Mm,
And so WER has did the assessment of the auditorium and hopefully the work on the auditorium will begin very soon. We will be having a fundraising event at Dreamland Ballroom um,
okay.
on December 31st, 2024.
Okay.
A fundraiser to raise funds for the auditorium at Dunbar Middle Magnet School, at the Florence Price Auditorium, excuse me.
Hello. Hello.
And so we're really excited about that. Dreamland Ballroom, as you know,
New Year's Eve.
was the Mecca at its time, at its heyday, as a place for entertainment for African Americans, for Black people. It was a jazz club that
Mm.
brought jazz greats like Cab Calloway,
My
Duke
God.
Ellington, Ella
Mm.
Fitzgerald,
Oh my God.
B.B. King, Ray Charles. They were part of the chitlin circuit, right? And so they
Cause see,
also,
cause see,
go ahead.
remember, I'm from up north. So I'm not from Arkansas. So there's
Oh,
still a lot that I'm learning. I've been here a long time, but I'm not from here. So when I hear
yeah,
these stories, it always blows my mind. I'm like, gosh, it's
yeah,
incredible.
yes. So, you know, downtown was the Mecca for the African American community.
Hmm.
And all those great people lived in the Dunbar Historic District. And just those names alone, you know that, this is a history, a rich history that we want to continue to tell that story and bring that awareness. And what better way to celebrate as to, have an event at the newly rehabilitated Dreamland
Yeah.
Ballroom. And
Yeah.
and I know for a fact that Florence Price had to go to that ballroom because it was where, we went for entertainment,
Right.
right?
Right.
So
That was the
that she was
spot.
there. I
That
mean,
was the spot.
if you do the timeline, right?
Gosh, that's
That was
incredible. That's
and uh,
incredible.
there's a lot of rich history there. It's the Flag and Banner now. It
Hmm.
was called the Taborian Hall of Sons and Daughters. It was a fraternal organization that had businesses there. It had a community center inside of
Wow.
it. Um, um, it was also a place for war veterans to come
Hmm. I
during
didn't
World
know
War
that.
II.
Hmm.
And so it has a wealth of history as well. But I'm so excited about going to Dreamland Ballroom. And
That is amazing.
yes, 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 yes. So it's on the second floor. They do have an elevator now, but they've left it, and you would love it. They've
Oh.
left it looks like the original aesthetics.
Mm.
A lot of it is original. However, if there was something they had to redo, they redid it to look the same exact way.
Right, right, to replicate it.
To
Oh, I
replicate. Yeah,
love
that's what I
that.
was. How exciting is that?
That's going to be beautiful. Look, let
Yeah.
me let me look at my calendar here. I need to make
Look at your
sure.
calendar.
Look
I
at my
need you there.
calendar.
I need you
Man,
there. It's going to be a
man.
glorious, glorious time, let me tell you.
It sounds like it. And let me ask you this too to kind
Yes.
of tie everything together for me.
Mhm.
What would you say to someone who's listening who, you know, wants to get involved in community? Maybe they're so busy with life because life can be lifing, but they
Yes.
still want to get involved in their community. And I think today is
Hmm.
probably more important than any other time, considering what's happening with our educational system and
Yes.
the threat of what can continue to happen with our educational system in
Yes.
the African American community. And so I think people are more aware, but they're not quite sure what to do. Like, where
Yes.
do I go? What to do? What's the first step? And what can I do even though I have a whole life going on at the same time? So
Sure.
what would you suggest to someone for their own communities?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I love that question. You know, I think sometimes we don't understand really just how simple it really is on how to get involved. You
Hmm.
know, I think the first thing that you should consider is really, what are you passionate about? Do you
Mm.
like reading? Do you like drawing? Do you like just talking to people? Right? Just like, what is it that you enjoy doing, and finding those things what you can get involved in. And some people may say, well, I don't like doing any of that, right? So I say, just really just send some good energy then. Just have some good thoughts.
Mm.
I was at a meeting the other night, a dinner meeting with some leaders in the community, political people, attorneys,
Mm.
city folks, right?
Right.
Because we're in a political time, of course. And I
Hmm.
simply told them, that one thing that I tell people is that if God creates us a use of our imagination, then what are we thinking about our communities? When you drive down our communities, are you thinking, blight, boarded up buildings, or, you know, uh, things that are not positive? Are you thinking about, oh man, this is
Opportunity.
beautiful. This could be that, we can make this happen, right? So let's not
Hmm.
just drive down the street and see things that we don't like. Just imagine the great things that it can
Wow.
be. Instead of complaining about it, just think about it in a different way. Because trust
Mm.
me, once you start thinking, it's going to touch your heart, and that heart space is going to motivate you to do something. So even if you
Mm.
attend an event, like we just finished with the community festival, right? And that festival
Yeah, I
was,
enjoyed that. I was there. I
oh,
enjoyed that.
yeah, thank you for coming too. I really appreciate it. We
Oh,
didn't make
thank
it
you for
just to
doing
talk.
it.
was
I
just
know
like,
you were
oh,
so busy.
like,
You were over here, over there, and I was like, "Oh, let me get this, let me eat this, and let me buy that." And I was, enjoying the music and the other vendors and stuff there. So yeah, it was good. It was really good.
I appreciate that. And this is our 10th year. And
Wow.
we have that festival, the Dunbar Festival, because it is about honoring this community, this
Yes.
neighborhood that we're rebuilding, rebirthing to become a community, a vibrant community. And we do want people to be a part of it. So if you got a positive thought, a positive idea,
Mhm.
bring that to the table. We do have a membership. We meet every third Thursday at the Dunbar Community Center, and I tell anybody that if you've driven down Chester or Wright Avenue, you
Yeah.
are an honorary member of the Dunbar Historic Neighborhood Association. Why? Because believe it or not, Sakina, that around the world, right, our communities are really or our neighborhoods that should be communities are really kind of looking all the same. We're
Yeah.
losing them, right?
Yes, we are.
So, so we have to be a part of the solution. So no matter where we are, when you first asked me that question, the first thing I thought was, you are the community, you know,
Mm.
you the
Mm.
individual, because it starts with how many?
Yeah.
Just
One.
one.
Yeah.
You are the community, right? And so your desires, your dreams, your vision on what you think that is, that's what should be your motivator, right? And we all know what the things are that we want to see in our communities, right? And
Hmm.
so I would just encourage people to really build on that and be a part of the solution, be more positive speaking about our community because we all know the issues and concerns that we have, but be engaged, I would say, really with our young people too. Our babies we really need a lot of support in our system as you talk about education
Yeah.
and because the minds are very influential, right? And
Mhm.
so our schools need volunteers, and if your heart's in the right place, then you're the right person, right? As
Mm.
far as wanting to help our young people, yeah. Whether you're going in to read, whether you're going in
Right.
just to help the teacher, whether you're going in and helping with the school activity, maybe at recess, just helping out at recess, when you can and when your time allows. Because I really
Yeah.
think more that you become involved, the more you want to be involved. And the more you can see what those things are, those needs are, right? And
Hmm.
but if you're not involved, you're not going to be able to really wholeheartedly kind of see what's going on. And if you watch television,
Mm.
a lot of times it doesn't tell a really good story about who we are. And
Right.
it just, unfortunately, it just tells, in my view, not the right story.
Right.
And so,
It tells a vision.
yes, yeah,
That's usually not our vision, but it
yeah.
is called television for a reason.
I know, right? For a
Yeah,
reason.
for a
And so,
reason.
yeah, and image is everything, right? Image is really uh really a lot of what I used to say when I started the Arkansas Black Independent Film Festival here. And one year,
Mm.
we're in hiatus right now. Got to get that back going again. Uh,
Yeah, I remember that.
yeah, I think I said image is everything because visually that's what we see it first, then
Yeah.
we think about it, right?
Yeah.
And then we start determining, from there.
Yeah.
So it really is everything. And so we want to make sure that we are seeing great things and great images in our communities and great things and images as it regards to our young minds and our young people and our young children.
That's so true. I love what you said about because it made me think too when we do see abandoned buildings or we see an area that's just like it's easy to complain about it. It's easy to say, oh my God, or what should or shouldn't happen. And and it's like, man, you are really, and I've certainly been guilty of it, of just complaining or frowning when I see an abandoned building, or just like, oh my God. But it's like, what would happen if instead we just thought about, wow, that would be a great coffee shop, or wouldn't that be awesome if it was a daycare center, or and just changing the thought process. Because you're right, once you start changing the way that you think up here, it starts opening up the possibilities. Because then when you see a building or an area that you think formerly is run down, or it is run down, but when you see it in a different light or think about it in a different light, then you start talking about it, because you may hear someone else talking about that area, and instead of agreeing with them and saying, yeah, that's a horrible area, you can
Sure.
change your thought and go, yeah, but wouldn't that be a great coffee shop? Or wouldn't that be a great, just behind thinking
Restaurant,
something different? Yes, yes,
bookstore.
yes. I
Yeah.
ran into Lonnie. I gotta get her on here too. And we were at the home restaurant, the vegan restaurant.
Hmm, hmm, hmm.
That place is too close to my house, girl. I'ma tell you, it is
Oh,
too
yeah.
close to my house. That food is
Eleanor, one of my favorite
so
places.
good. Oh my
House of
gosh.
Mental. House of
Yes.
Mental.
Yes.
Mhm.
That food is so good. And I ran into Lonnie Harshaw there the other day, and she's actually, I'm going to be going out of town, but this Friday, as a matter of fact, she's doing like a paint and sip there on Wright Avenue, where Afro Bites is, in that little area. And
Yeah.
so we were talking about that for a couple of minutes, and I'm like, I'm right around the corner. I didn't even know what was going on up there. So just
Oh,
having that conversation with her, we maybe talked 10 minutes. It just, again, opened my mind to like, let me see what's going on around here, because there's stuff happening in a good,
sure.
positive way, you
Sure.
know?
Yeah,
And
I
it's just
agree.
like, man, there's so much happening. And so again, it is about just changing your mindset and getting involved, because people like you, are making things happen in a big way. And I want to thank you for all that you do, who you are. Who you are today is who you've always been. Like, you've always been authentically you. I've never ran into you in a different area and you were a different person. And that's one of the things I love about you too, because you are, what you see is what you get. And
Thank
it's
you.
beauty on the inside, as well as on the outside, but definitely on the inside. So like that's straight up. I would tell you that even if this camera wasn't on, and even if this wasn't going on my YouTube channel, I would tell
Love
you
you.
that,
Thank you so
you
much. I
know.
really, really
So
appreciate
true.
that. That brightens my day.
So true, so true. And I appreciate you taking the time, because I know you're busy. I know you've got a lot going on. So to be able to take the time to sit here with us and share this again, thank you for sharing the story of Florence, because, like I said, you truly introduced me to her, truly. And
Yeah,
so,
and that's just one one of many. And I
right.
will just add just a couple of things is that,
Yeah.
research. I mean, the names that I've mentioned, just go do your own research. Don't
Yeah.
take my word for it because it's nothing like reading the information for yourself
Right.
and discovery because it sticks to you better that way, right?
Mm,
I can start the pendulum moving, right?
mm-hmm.
You got to keep
Swinging.
it going. I can start it
Yeah.
swinging, right? But you got to actually keep it going. And this coffee and conversation, honey, has been a delight. And you know, when you can feel free just to be yourself.
Yeah.
And that's what I've felt like here today. I think you're doing an awesome
Good.
job just to have
Thank you.
this podcast at this time to interview people and get a chance just to talk freely. Because a lot of
Yeah.
times, kind of like, is not, it's just because when you think of interview, you think, it's just
Right,
so,
like a whole thing of
oh,
certain questions and what you can say and what you can't say, what's politically correct and all that. And I'll tell you, I was
and I
starting
think you're
to,
freezing again. But it's
oh,
okay.
this thing, I'm gonna have to listen, Xfinity, I pay too much because I got the fastest internet supposedly, and so we're gonna work that out. But like I said, I just wanted to just be able to have different conversations with people, unscripted, as if you were literally in my home and we have the
Yes.
same conversation,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I
and
could keep on going hours and hours because I love talking to you. I love your
same
perspective.
here.
I
Same
think you're
here.
so encouraging, so engaging, and more importantly, so supportive. And that
Thank you.
combination is a powerful combination for a beautiful, beautiful Black woman.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And on
Yeah.
that note, you all, I want you all to show Miss Angel some love, share what you got from this conversation in the comments. Challenge yourself to just do one thing for your community today that maybe you hadn't thought about. Even if it's just the simple thought of just like what Angel was saying, looking at your community different, looking at it in a more positive way. Sometimes all you can do is give a thought because you got so much going on in life, but it's so easy to get bogged down about what isn't happening or what isn't being done. But we really can, I think Gandhi said it best, be the change that you want to see. And
Oh
so,
yeah.
yeah, so I hope that this conversation has enlightened you all, has encouraged you all. It certainly inspired me. I'm Dreamland has got to be on the Dream Ball, rather, it's got
Oh
to be
yes, yes, yes. December 31st.
December 31st. Okay. And I
Yes,
know
and,
you're going
and
to have
if
lots of
anyone is,
promotion.
yeah, and let me give
Yeah,
our website.
please.
It's Dunbar HNA. That's DUNBARHNA.com. And then the same thing for our email is dunbarhna@gmail. So feel free to reach out, ask questions, be a part, and make your difference.
Absolutely. And we're going to have that information in the notes too. So that way you all will be able to just click and let us know where they can find you too, because you've got a lot going on too, in addition to your community work. So where can people find you to connect with you to maybe ask more questions or maybe become more involved, of course, with Dunbar community, but they may just want to connect with you. So how can they find you?
Yes, yes, yes. So my email is naturally fab. That's
And she is, as
FAB.
you all can see.
Thank you. It's naturally fab, and that's FAB dot angel, and that's also at Gmail.
Perfect. Thank you so much once again for gracing me with your presence and your time today. I have thoroughly enjoyed having you here. And you all do me a favor, do me a big favor, hit the thumbs up, hit the like button. Feel free to share with your friends. Certainly subscribe because we've got so many conversations that are planning, more inspiration, more motivation, and just real talk, real conversations, and just some fun things planned. And I hope you all continue to stay around. So again, thank you so much for your time today, Miss Angel.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome.